Welcome back to Sacramento Smooth Jazz. This is the Clear Talk Financial Series here on Sacramento Smooth Jazz Radio, where we take a brief pause from the music to bring you clear, useful conversations about money or retirement insurance and whatever it is going to bring you financial peace of mind. Today, of course, you guys know I'm joined again by Mr. John Nunes of Fortis Insurance Solutions. He is our in-house financial expert, and he brings 28 years of experience helping people just like you make sense of important financial decisions. Our goal is always simple. No hype, no pressure, no financial noise, just straight, thoughtful conversation designed to help you feel more informed, more comfortable, and more confident about your financial road ahead. John, welcome back to Clear Talk. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, Michael. I am excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here too, because I get to listen to you talk about some great topics, and I know that we're going to have a really good topic today. Now, over the last couple of Clear Talk segments, we talked about why a 401k is not a retirement plan. And then we clarified, well, actually, you clarified what a 401k is and what it's not. So today, let's take the next step, okay? If someone has saved money in a 401k, IRA, or some other retirement account, how do they know whether that money can actually support them when the paycheck stops?
Well, Michael, that is exactly where the retirement gap conversation begins, because a retirement account, it may show a balance, but retirement is not lived as a balance, as we know. It's lived as a monthly income. So the retirement gap is actually the difference between the income that someone needs and the income that their current strategy is actually positioned to provide.
Okay. So someone's probably saying, okay, I understand. So John, define that for the people. When you say retirement gap, what are you really talking about? Besides what I think is the obvious. Break it down.
Yeah, the retirement gap is not just, do I have enough money? Rather, it's, will this money create the income that I need for as long as I need it under real life conditions? And they'll say, okay, John, well, what are real life conditions? Well, those conditions can include things like taxes, inflation, market downturns, health changes, longevity. You know, a person may have a good balance and still have a gap if there is no income plan that's attached to that balance.
What you just said reminded me of a conversation I had with someone. They were about to retire and they were bragging about their $1+ million account. And I said, oh, and I made a comment. I said, oh, that's nice. And they go, what do you mean? I said, well, you make about $110,000 a year. They go, yeah. I go, okay. So how long do you plan on living in retirement? And they just looked at me and I said, you haven't accounted for taxes or anything. You know, so someone could look at their account is what I'm saying and feel pretty good like they did, but still not know whether they're actually prepared.
Yeah, Michael, exactly. Someone may see 300,000, 500,000, even 800,000 and feel secure. But the one thing that they fail to realize is that a balance by itself does not tell you how much income that balance is going to produce. So a balance does not answer the question, how much can I withdraw? What happens in a bad market? How long will it last? What will taxes do to it? That's why I always say, that a balance can create confidence, but it's the income that pays the bills.
It's the income that pays the bills. Exactly. Why do you think it's so difficult for people to shift in that mindset to understand this?
Well, the reality is that most people were trained for the accumulation phase.
Mm-hmm.
You hear it all the time. Contribute, save, invest, and then just wait. Okay. Now that is important, but it's only half of the conversation because retirement is the distribution phase. Now the question changes, Michael, from how do I grow this money to how do I turn this into money into income without running out of it? And that is a completely different strategy. And that's the one thing that people don't know because they're not taught that.
That's true. You're right. In fact, you always hear the accumulation phase. You always hear about that contribution phase, accumulation phase, but that's it. So before someone retires, what are the key questions they should be asking?
Well, the first thing, Michael, I would do is start off with 5 obvious questions. The first one being, how much monthly income do I need? Okay. Where will that income come from? How much of it is guaranteed? How much of it is exposed to market risk? And finally, what happens if I live 25 or 30 years in retirement? Now, those questions, Michael, bring out the conversation back to reality, because retirement planning, it's not just about the biggest account balance. It's about the dependable income, risk control, and clarity.
The risk control, that's the thing that stood out to me, risk control. When you talk about dependable income, are you talking about strategies that create more certainty?
Absolutely, because not every dollar needs to be in the same place doing the same job. So some money can be positioned for growth, but some money should be positioned to create reliable income.
Yeah.
And that's where the protected income strategies may come into the conversation. Because what people need to understand is the goal is not to scare you out of your accounts. The goal is to help you understand which part of the money needs protection, what part needs liquidity, and what part can become income.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking with John Nunes, President and CEO of Fortis Insurance Solutions, bringing 28 years of experience into this conversation, giving us some insight. Okay, so I'm glad that we're talking about the retirement gap and what happens after that paycheck stops. So how does this connect, everything you've been talking about, connect to the Fortis Legacy Diamond approach you've been talking about before?
Well, like we've been saying, Michael, the Fortis Legacy Diamond is a system and it's built around 4 pillars: protect, retire, bank, and leverage. Now, the retirement gap usually shows up when people have one account, but they don't have a coordinated system. Protect is going to ask you what happens if life changes. Retirement asks if where the income is going to come from. The bank pillar asks where liquidity and control come from. And then finally, the leverage pillar is going to ask you whether capital is being used strategically. Now, that is a complete planning conversation.
And a conversation they need to have with you. So if someone is listening, realizing they may have accounts, that's fine, but not a clear income strategy, what should they do next?
Well, the first thing we need to do, Michael, is start by getting the gap measured. If they have anything in place right now, don't cancel it. Don't cancel anything. And remember, don't move anything blindly and don't make any type of emotional decisions. What we need to do is get clarity first. So at Fortis Insurance Solutions, we call that a retirement gap review. And what we do is we help people look at what they have, what they need, where their risks are, and whether their current strategy can actually support their retirement income. Because retirement should not be built on guesswork. It should be built on income, clarity, and structure.
There you go. There you go. John, always a pleasure to have you stop on in to give us some insight. Ladies and gentlemen, give him a call. Reach out to him. John, how can they reach you?
They can reach me at my office number, Michael. That's 1-800-900-3150. That's 1-800-900-3150.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, give John Nunes a call. That's 1-800-900-3150, 1-800-900-3150. This has been another Clear Talk Financial Series brought to you by Sacramento Smooth Jazz. Now, let's get back to the music. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions as to what topics we want to talk about in the future, drop it in the chat at our website at sacsmoothjazz.fm. Again, this is Sacramento Smooth Jazz, your escape from the noise.